Everyone needs to pay attention to what's happening in China right now because for countries like the United States, it is terrifying. You see, for a while now, cheap shit from China has been the perception of products coming out of the country. And for years, while companies like Tesla blew up, there was a real hesitation to buy Chinese cars. However, fast forward just 5 short years, China has exploded to become the world's largest car producer and exporter in the world. That graph is unbelievable. In fact, last year, China sold 50% more cars abroad than the next largest exporter. Their largest car company, BYD, is now also overtaken Tesla, the world's most valuable car company, in both revenue and sales. And it's only expected to get even crazier because BYD's new EV factory will span 50 square miles. That's an area larger than the city of San Francisco. And that's a level of production that most simply can't compete with. The thing is, it's not just electric cars. This long game approach that China started working on 15 years ago is seemingly all kicking in now. Just this week, China's flying taxis were granted the world's first operation certificates. For context, that is the final regulatory green light that they needed to start flying, meaning autonomous air taxi services will begin this year in China. This year! China also built the planet's largest high-speed rail network, which is 48,000 kilometers of track in just 15 years. But here's where things get interesting, because Joe Biden attributed China's meteoric rise to unfair business. And hear me out, because he's kind of got a valid point. You see, unlike companies in the West, which are separate from the government, in China, they're kind of not. This means that if the CCP wants to become the world's leader when it comes to cars, they can pour massive amounts of money into companies like BYD. This allows those private companies to rapidly expand in scale, to have aggressively lower prices than the competition, to have reduced financial risk because they've literally got the Chinese government behind them, and then ultimately, as a result, can flood the global market with cars that are not just cheaper than the competition, but more technologically advanced too. And the thing is, consumers don't often care about how a company has arrived to the final product. If it's better and cheaper, most likely it'll just be bought. And that's why the United States and many other countries around the world have implemented up to 100% tariffs on Chinese cars to make them more expensive. Because if they just sat back and let them flood the market, local companies simply couldn't compete because it's not just an unlevel playing field, it's a whole separate playing field altogether. And that's the tricky problem that we're at now. Consumers in the West are seeing the stuff coming out of China and are asking their government why they are purposefully not allowing them to have it, especially during the cost of living crisis that we're currently in. But the question is, what do you think? Is it fair for a government to protect their local companies from unfair business, kind of like how we break up monopolies? Or should markets simply be left to decide winners and losers naturally?